Alaska is a place of stunning beauty and quiet solitude for those who live there. Like Tim, it's more than just a home, it's a connection to nature, to the wild, and to a world that remains largely untouched by human hands, surrounded by dense woods towering, mountains and vast stretches of wilderness. Tim's cabin was nestled deep in the heart of this rugged landscape. It was a peaceful existence, with only the sounds of nature to break the silence, but little did he know. A simple morning would turn into one of the most extraordinary experiences of his life. Tim was used to the sounds of the Alaskan wilderness, the rustle of trees in the wind, the calls of birds, and the occasional scurrying of small animals near his home. But one morning, as the first rays of sunlight began to filter through the trees, Tim was startled awake by an unfamiliar sound scratching at his front door. Living in the wilderness, it wasn't uncommon for wild animals to roam close to his cabin. In fact, bears were frequent visitors in the area, drawn to the scent of food or simply curious. At first, Tim thought this might be one of those times maybe a bear or even a fox had wandered too close, but as he glanced out the window, his eyes widened in surprise. Standing on his porch was not a bear or any of the usual wildlife he was accustomed to seeing, but a small lone lynx kitten. Tim couldn't believe what he was seeing. Lynxes are notoriously elusive creatures. They avoid humans, hunt primarily at night, and their sightings are few and far between. Yet here was this little lynx right on his doorstep, scratching as if it had nowhere else to go. Tim's first instinct was to grab his camera. After all, as a wildlife photographer, this was a golden opportunity. But then his thoughts shifted. The kitten wasn't just there by chance, it was likely hungry, perhaps lost or separated from its family. He couldn't just let it leave without offering some help. Carefully he opened the door. The little lynx didn't flinch. In fact, it seemed almost at ease, as if it had somehow decided that this was a safe place. Tim, still cautious, slowly placed some food on the ground. The kitten without hesitation approached the food and began to eat, its tiny body trembling with hunger. After it had finished, the kitten gave one last look at Tim before darting back into the woods, disappearing among the trees as quickly as it had come. Tim stood there for a moment, stunned by what had just happened. He had always hoped to catch a glimpse of a lynx in the wild, but he never imagined one would come right to his front door. The next morning, Tim awoke again, but this time he wasn't startled by any noise. Instead, something drew him to the window, a strange feeling that he should check outside. As he peered out, his heart skipped a beat. There, gathered on his porch, was not just the lynx kitten from the day before, but an entire family of lynxes. There were 7 of them, in total 6 playful kittens, and their mother, who sat calmly at the edge of the porch, her watchful eyes scanning the area to ensure her cubs were safe. The kittens, oblivious to the world, were running back and forth, playfully chasing one another and pouncing as if practicing their hunting skills. It was a sight few people would ever witness. And here it was happening right on Tim's doorstep. Tim's hands trembled with excitement as he reached for his camera. As a wildlife photographer, this was a once-in-a-lifetime moment. Lynxes were rarely seen by people, let alone an entire family of them, in such close proximity. The fact that they had chosen his home as their temporary playground was nothing short of miraculous. He quickly began snapping photos, capturing the kittens as they leaped and tumbled over one another, their fur gleaming in the morning light. Each shot felt like a gift, as though nature itself was offering him a glimpse into a world that was usually hidden from human eyes. But even as Tim photographed the scene, he couldn't shake the feeling of awe and gratitude. This wasn't just about getting the perfect shot. This was about being in the presence of something truly wild, something untamed and free. The mother lynx, ever vigilant, watched her kittens with the same protective gaze that any parent would have. Yet, despite her wariness, she allowed Tim to witness this private moment, as if understanding that he meant no harm. The kittens continued their playful antics, seemingly unaware of their rare visitor. They pounced on each other, their tiny paws swatting and their fur standing on end in mock battles. Tim couldn't help but smile as he watched. It was a reminder that even in the wild there was joy. These kittens were no different from any other, curious, playful, and full of life. As the sun climbed higher in the sky, the lyres began to retreat back into the woods. One by one, the kittens followed, their mother disappearing into the thick underbrush. Their visit had been brief, but it had left a lasting impression on Tim. He stood there for a moment, the silence of the morning settling back around him. The porch, now empty, seemed almost too quiet in their absence, but Tim knew that what he had just witnessed was something he would never forget. Later that day, as Tim sat on his porch, viewing the photos he had taken, he couldn't help but reflect on the experience. It wasn't just about seeing a family of lynxes, it was about the connection he felt to the wild, to the untamed world that existed just beyond the edges of his home in Alaska. Nature is always close by, but there's a difference between knowing it's there and truly experiencing it. Tim had always respected the wild, understanding that these animals belonged to a world he could never fully be part of. They were born to roam free, to hunt, to survive in the harsh conditions of the Alaskan wilderness. This family of lynxes had reminded him of that. They weren't pets, they weren't meant to be domesticated, and they weren't here to stay. Their visit was a fleeting moment of connection, a rare glimpse into their lives before they returned to the world where they truly belonged. The next few days passed quietly, and though Tim hoped the lynx family would return, they didn't, but that was okay. He knew that they were out there somewhere in the vast expanse of the forest, living their lives as they were meant to, and in a way that made the experience even more special. It was our reminder that wild animals should remain in their natural habitats, undisturbed by humans. Tim, as a wildlife photographer, had always known this, but seeing it firsthand had driven the point home even more. These animals deserve to live in peace, free from the influence of humans, in the wild landscapes that were their true home. Alaska is home to many national parks, places where animals like the lynxes can thrive without interference. And though Tim's encounter had been an incredible one, it also reminded him of the delicate balance between humans and the wild. As he looked out at the woods surrounding his home, Tim couldn't help but feel a deep sense of gratitude, not just for the opportunity to photograph the Lynx family, but for the reminder of how precious and fragile the natural world truly is. The story of the Lynx family might have been a brief chapter in Tim's life, but it was one he would carry with him forever. The images he captured would serve as a reminder of the beauty that exists just beyond our reach, in the untamed corners of the world, where animals live free and wild. Tim couldn't help but hope that one day he might hear a sound of scratching at his door again, but even if he didn't, he knew that the wild was always close, just waiting to show its wonders to those who are lucky enough to see it.